everyone, I'm Jennifer Kelly, and I'm here with Rich Girl Network TV. We are here on the yellow carpet tonight to see the premiere of The Hot Zone, the thrilling new movie featured by the National Geographic Channel. So please stay with us and keep watching Rich Girl Network TV. So we understand how important the music component is in storytelling of any film. Obviously, this is a very important, nationally important film. How did you set the tone through music?
Well, the first thing that came up is how do you make the sound of a character? Because the Ebola virus is kind of a character. Have you seen any of it? Yeah. Okay. So the first thing we had to think about was like, well, what will that be? You know, because when I watched movies like Jaws and stuff like that, you didn't see the monster, you didn't see the shark for an hour into the movie. The imagination fills in all kinds of things. So when you sit next to on an airplane next to someone who's sick and coughing, your mind will go, eeh, you know. So I thought of, well, what are the most uncomfortable sounds that human beings hear? Can you think of one? What would you say? Broken glass, babies crying, bees, wasps. And I thought of these detuned pianos, the space between the white and the black notes. Because there's many tones in between there, even though we don't play them in regular songs. So I thought, well, if I start the virus with just a couple of these little microtones, right? And then as the virus starts to spread, the tuning gets a little bit more diffusive and more atonal, so it starts to get under your skin a little bit more. In a way that you would not really consciously register, I hope, because you don't want it to be too much of a bing, bing, bing. But as it starts to grow, so does the sound start to get a little more chaotic. And then as the story morphs and the virus morphs, so does the harmony. So that's sort of the approach I took with it, and they were very responsive to it, Brian and Kelly and the rest. And I was really happy with how it came out. It was a lot of work, but I think it came out really nice.
Yeah, you know what I think? The metaphor of this story for me is that, you know, in the eyes of Ebola or any virus, we're all the same. We're human beings. It doesn't know black, white, it doesn't know Jew, Christian, Islam, it doesn't know American, German, Russian. We're human beings. And we need to start realizing that ourselves. You know, if it takes a war with a virus for us to realize we're one family, then I'll take the virus war, because we need to work in harmony, we need to work cooperatively, we need to work together as a species if we're going to survive on this planet in this life. And, you know, in the world of walls and divisiveness and myopic xenophobia, if it takes a virus like Ebola to reflect back to us that we're all related and we're really one family, I think that's the important part of the story. Yeah.
So tell us about the characters and the people, your cast. How did you keep each other inspired every day?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I heard that Julianna was doing this, and I was immediately in, because I'm a huge fan of hers, and I always wanted to work with her. And Liam Cunningham also, and Topher Grace, and they had a great cast, and great directors, and great producers, great writers. It was an A-plus crew. And the people we're playing are just, you know, incredible people. They're heroic people who quietly, you know, work their lives for the greater good. Jerry and Nancy Jaax, who are both Army veterinarians, taking care of animals, taking care of humans, risking their lives for the greater good. I wish I could be so noble, but I can play one on TV.
Absolutely. And the novel, Richard Preston's novel, was it scary to bring that to life?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the book came out, I didn't read it, but I had heard about it, and I was too scared to read it. And now I read it, of course, and I know why I didn't read it. It's really terrifying. But, you know, it makes you appreciate the precious value of life. You know, we take it for granted sometimes. You kind of have to. You can't live in jeopardy every minute of every day. It would be paralyzing. But to just take a moment and step back and realize what a special gift a day of life is, and how we need to take care of it and each other and our home, our planet. If it leads to that, then I'm proud to be a part of it.
So I know that you've been playing some very serious roles, obviously fictional, Sir Davos, and now you're doing a non-fiction but very important role.
Romantic comedy. I really do. I need to break out of this thing, or at least go out and start killing a lot of people. I need to be a bad guy or a lover.
Or a lover.
A lover, maybe a fighter. Prefer a lover. Less chance of doing a hip.
I love it. So how was this a departure from obviously playing such a fictional, magical role for so many years? And this is such a globally important role in which it's absolutely non-fiction.
It's very, very scary. I mean, the strange thing about this story is that we know it takes place, or this story, and Nancy Jaax is 4 feet away from me, the actual Nancy Jaax, in 1989, when the Ebola virus was 10 miles away from the White House. So we may think about this. Whoa, we were lucky there. We avoided a curveball. However, the second largest outbreak of Ebola is happening today in the Congo. And if we have the power, we have the facilities, we have the know-how, we have the technology to beat this. But because this enemy, this virus, is invisible, we tend to not take things that aren't in our face terribly seriously. And it's also halfway around the world in a foreign country. It doesn't work like that. We know it can get on a plane because it did. It arrived in Washington. And it will happen again if we sit back and be complacent about it. And we need to do a lot more because we can win it. It's not, we can beat it. Not if we sit in our asses.
What was it like working with Julianna and the crew and Noah?
I had no choice, and I'll tell you why. I got home, my wife and my daughter, when I was sent this offer, sent the script, and I was telling the story about Nancy Jaax, and my wife, I think she'd read the book, the Richard Preston book is here, and she said, who's playing Nancy Jaax? And I said, Julianna Margulies, and my daughter and my wife just went, you're doing it. I was told, there was no decision to be made. They're huge. We're all huge ER fans, but my wife, my daughter, idolized the woman in The Good Wife. So I didn't have any choice. It wasn't a career choice for me at all. It was an instruction from the women in my family. And thank God they've sent me. She's a goddess, the woman. She's fabulous. I'd work with her again at the drop of a hat. We were doing some real serious stuff, but there wasn't a day we didn't laugh. She's great.